We got fall weather. We got injuries. We got week 9 of NFL, baby. What is going on? It is your favorite DFS crew here. This is your Fielder's Choice, live before kickoff. Once again, I'm John Moffa, joined by Mike Bislinski and Devin Frank. What is up, guys?
Week 9, man, a fun week too. It's a pretty wide open week with a lot of fun builds, so I'm excited for today.
Yeah, a bunch of ways you can go on this week for sure. A bunch of questions we got. How's it going, Miz?
I'm good, man. A lot to unpack here.
For sure. Well, we're going to definitely do that. We're going to get it going here, get you ready just at noon here, give you an hour before your lineups are due in. But before we do that, I'm going to push you over to yourfielderschoice.com. We got a great selection of sports going on right now. Everything is kind of hitting their speed here. We got NBA, NHL, MLB is over, but we got college basketball coming right behind it. And of course the NFL. So head over to yourfielderschoice.com, check it out, see what we got going on. Also just give this video a like for your boys here. Hit that button. We appreciate the love and support that everybody gives us. And maybe one day you can get a cool hoodie like I do. So let's jump right into cash. And like I said, there's a bunch of questions here. Miz, we'll talk to you in a bit for that GPP stack. But Dev, take us through what you're thinking here for cash builds.
Yeah, like I said in the open, this is a pretty interesting week. We've got the Aaron Rodgers news, putting Jordan Love starting, who is incredibly cheap. And most weeks I'd be just sprinting to this play. But there's some soft pricing across both sites, and we don't really need Jordan Love today. So while he's certainly an option, I don't think he's going to be very popular because, again, especially wide receiver, which we'll get into, it's flat mispriced. So starting at the top end, though, we of course have Josh Allen, he's been the premier DFS quarterback in terms of ceiling this year. He's consistently hit over 30 the last few weeks, more so than anybody really else. So if you're paying up, it's really got to be for Josh Allen. Of course, you can go Patrick Mahomes, who is one of these days he's going to break out of it and go nuts.
Still Patrick Mahomes, right? He's definitely not on our dust list from Wednesday. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you ended up, if you just have a gut feeling like this is Patrick Mahomes week, I can never blame you for playing the guy. But to me, it's Josh Allen. Like I said, he's done now 30 plus in 3 of the last 5 weeks, including a 40-point week and then another week in which he has 39.5. So he's just shown 40-point upside. Nobody else has really touched that at that level of consistency. Next down, we've got Lamar. Lamar's going to be pretty popular because his price has dropped really as it should have. He has not been nearly as dynamic this year, but he does have a 40-point game on his log. He's consistently putting up over 20. Same kind of thing with Mahomes, except for, they're winning, but we're still kind of waiting to see the Lamar of old DFS wise. And just like I said, he's still having a good year, but he's only got 12 touchdowns on the year, whereas Josh Allen has 20. But I expect him to be pretty popular because the builds that you can do with him are really, really strong because he's kind of in that nice mid-range 7-3 on DraftKings, which is a really nice price. So expect Lamar Jackson to be pretty popular. Like I said, the builds with him are very nice. No issues there, of course. And then the last one, the next range down. So I gave you top range, mid-range. And then the next one's Jalen Hurts, my dude. He's been the most consistent DFS player all season, except for last week when he was finally the chalk play. Of course, last week, everybody finally realized, this dude's been awesome. Played him and he was a dud. But that was a game script dud. The Lions just flat out didn't show up, which is something they haven't done all year. That game was over after the first quarter. Hurts had like 14 pass attempts. That's not going to happen again.
Ton of rushing touchdowns in that game too. I think Scott had 2 and Howard had 2.
Yeah, it was a weird outcome. It's the perfect example of our Ted Lasso be a goldfish that we talked about on the show before the show. Hurts will be fine. And actually the nice thing is his price dropped on both sides. So he's that next tier in terms of pricing that I really like. And those are the 3 those are your safe plays between Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts. And then I mentioned Jordan Love. if you want to load up, he's there. But again, understand there is some risk there. It is a fantastic matchup against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just dreadful defensively. But how much do they let Jordan Love do? They're going to let him throw.
Yeah.
So that's the real question. So like I said, I don't expect him to be popular. That is the clear punt option, though, if you decided to go that route. So for me, it's really the four guys.
In a different world where you have to jam in Cooper Kupp and obviously Derrick Henry not anymore, but like, a Christian McCaffrey maybe at like 9,000, like, yeah, maybe we're talking Jordan Love. But for me personally, like you said, it's just not warranted, especially this week where I love the mid value range at wide receiver, which we'll get into in a minute. I just feel like you're playing with fire for an unnecessary reason. Go to the top dogs, use them, or if you want to try and save salary, maybe look at Jalen Hurts, like we mentioned. But he always does come with a disclaimer, right? Jalen Hurts, you're going to have to stomach it. It's not going to be pretty for 3 of the 4 quarters, but
you're going to be sweating.
Generally get you there.
I do expect it. I mean, at this point, we're 7 of 8 has been great. I mean, he's been, or 6 of 7 if they've had their bye week. He's been over 20. So, but yes, you're right. You're going to have to stomach it. One last note on Love. If you do play Jordan Love, understand that means your pay up options have to hit. They have to outscore these mid-range guys. So if you're absolutely in love with a Tyreek Hill or a Diggs, and you're like, I guarantee you they're going to score 30, if that's what you're thinking, then that's when you can play Love. But again, understand that the reason he's not popular this week is because of pricing at other positions where you really don't need that savings.
Yeah, no, agreed there. Let's bounce over to running back. Like I mentioned, no Derrick Henry, unfortunately. Even I don't think he'd be on the slate anyways, even if he wasn't hurt, but we can basically write him off completely. We do have McCaffrey though coming back. I don't know if you're interested in that. Maybe let's wait and see. I don't know what your general thought process is on the McCaffrey, but he would be the top dog here, obviously, price wise anyways. But yeah, again, a bunch of other great options here. What do you got?
Yeah, this is actually a little bit more straightforward position for me today, especially on DraftKings. Austin Eckler's been incredible this season. He's got 8 touchdowns, averaging 84 yards a game, on top of 43 yards receiving. So he's averaging, well over 100 yards. He's essentially the cheaper version of Christian McCaffrey. He's seeing double-digit targets, plus his usual run workload. So, you're looking at about 20 touches with Eckler, at a discount from the other guys who get about 20 catches. And he's been super good this year. He's really only had the one really bad game against the Ravens, but that was the game in which the entire team was terrible. Literally the entire team had their worst games of the year. Those are the games you move on from, you be a goldfish, you forget about them. Love Austin Eckler here. Gets a Philly defense that's giving up 31.3 DraftKings points per game to opposing running back positions. And in the case of the Chargers, most of that is going to be Austin Eckler. So I expect Austin Eckler to be 20 plus here again this week, something he's done essentially all season. So he's been super consistent. Really like him. I think he's going to be pretty chalky here. And then another chalky play, especially in DraftKings, is going to be Zeke. Zeke's having a good year. It's a little bit quiet. You think with Pollard getting some touches, it kind of felt like, oh, Zeke might be in trouble this year. But then you look up and he's got 5 straight weeks of scoring 17.7 or more. Last week was the first week where he dropped back down to 11.3. So that's still 6 straight weeks in a row, double digits, 5 of them being near 20 or more. It's been really consistent. And the last week's dud was because, Dak was out. So they just loaded the box. And there was no running room for him. So I like him to get back to that, 18 plus range here. Comes at a nice price tag, super consistent. The matchup isn't the greatest, but Denver did trade away Von Miller. They're kind of mailing things in a little bit here. So nice high total for Dallas as well. So Zeke is definitely a play I like, especially.
Denver also, obviously when you think of Denver, great defense, right? At least that's the notion. Like you said, they got rid of Von Miller, but they're still giving up. It looks like here for this season, they're averaging opponents are averaging just over 100 yards a game against them rushing. So
Yep.
if you think that's going to funnel over to Zeke, I mean, maybe if you're afraid of Tony Pollard, I don't know if that's really warranted at this point. Zeke is having a pretty decent year. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then after that, it's kind of pricing for me. You know, you got Nick Chubb. Yeah, he had a down week last week, first week back from injury. I expect the carries to go back up. You know, he gets a Cincinnati team that's not giving up a ton of rush yards. You know, they're giving up under 100, but they give up a lot of catches out of the backfield as well, which is something Chubb can do. He doesn't do a ton of, but he can. So total, they're giving up 28.2 DraftKings points per game to the opposing running back positions. So Chubb's in a nice spot. You know, with Odell gone, all that drama out of the way. I look for them to reestablish the run a little bit here more. Lean on Chubb. His price is down 6.7K on DraftKings, is really cheap for, you know, a guy who's averaging nearly 100 yards per game on the ground. That's pretty darn cheap. So Chubb's a nice play. We got Gaskin, who the Tua news just came out right when we were getting ready to do the show that Tua's out. The good news for Gaskin is this is a premier matchup. Houston's giving up 148 yards per game on the ground, over 400 yards is total offense on the ground. So even if, you know, the offense isn't quite as good without Tua, Gaskin's still in a really nice spot, and he comes at a really nice salary of 5.8K. If you are worried about that, don't sleep on Devontae Booker, who's been pretty good. He's been about 15 points a game since taking over as the lead back role. Gets a good matchup with Vegas. So those are nice plays. That's probably where I'm looking at running back wise on DraftKings.
I just, by the way, to cut you off real quick, I don't know if it impacts cash at all. Maybe this is more of a Miz factor, but I just got notification that James Robinson's out officially. So maybe give some love to Carlos Hyde there, who's 4,900. I don't know about cash builds, but maybe if you're looking to punt that position, which I don't know why you would, but just throwing that out there.
Yeah, probably more GPP just because it's brutal matchup.
Yeah.
But
they're going to lose that game by 40, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo's giving up not even 300 total yards per game, only giving up 86.6 yards per game on the ground. I expect Hyde's going to struggle here, but GPP, sure. Yeah, because he's going to be looking at a big role here. So switching over to FanDuel really quick, though, we do have a couple pricing plays. Myles Gaskin's really cheap on FanDuel. He's going to be a pretty chalky value at just 6.1K. Typically what we see, we talk about this all the time, is pricing discrepancies between the two sites. We don't see often where FanDuel is cheaper than DraftKings, and we don't even really see usually where the pricing's close. Usually FanDuel is about $1,000 more just because of the way the pricing works. So when a guy is close, so like Gaskins is only 300 more on FanDuel than he is DraftKings, that's going to drive some of that ownership because that tells you that the FanDuel algorithm is pretty cheap on him. So Gaskins is cheap, Booker's cheap. So those are some pretty strong FanDuel options that I don't mind. Joe Mixon's been cheap on FanDuel all season long. He's just 7.4K. So for running back, like I said, I really like the top two. And then it's kind of a pricing thing. See where I land. I'm not even sure you need to run 3 running backs today. Something we've talked about all season long. Wide receiver is really, really mispriced today. So I'm going to build around those 2 running backs, couple receivers, see where I land at flex and go from there.
Well, speaking of wide receiver and the availability of that mid-range, let's bounce over to that. This really is a pick your poison type of week. I feel like there's a lot of good options, and you can probably make a case for a bunch of them. So let's take a look at some of these names on the board here.
Yeah, so we'll start at the top. Obviously, you got Diggs. Diggs is one of the rare examples where he actually is cheaper on FanDuel, has been all season. It's going to drive ownership to him every single week. He hasn't been quite as good this year. He only has 3 touchdowns. He's still averaging about 10 targets per game, still averaging a little over 70 yards. Gets a premier matchup against the Jags, who are giving up 42.2 DraftKings points per game and 33.2 FanDuel points per game to opposing wide receiver groups. So Diggs is in a really nice spot, especially over on FanDuel. Tyreek Hill, 18 targets last week. Feels like they know their back's up against the wall. They're going to start leaning on Hill. I'm still waiting on like a super breakout game from him. and that certainly could happen any week. The decision this week will be, do you jam in one of these top price wide receivers on DraftKings? Personally, I don't think you need to, because again, these mid range, which we're going to get into, it's just mispriced. So let's jump into that mid range. We got Amari Cooper, Jarvis Landry, Jalen Waddle, Hunter Renfrow, T. Higgins, Kadarius Toney. All these guys come in 5K, 6K, and they're really cheap. They're good matchups. They're all seeing targets. If you look at their logs, most of them are essentially locks for double digits. For Landry and Renfrow, they're looking at bigger roles due to, the Odell and the Ruggs situation, which craziness. So these guys are looking at bigger roles. Their prices haven't adjusted to those roles. Jarvis is only 5.1K. Hunter Renfrow's 4.8. Again, good matchups for both. Jalen Waddle, the Tua news hurts a little bit, but Parker hit the IR. That's good. Jalen Waddle is the clear number one receiver for this offense. And again, he draws a good matchup. Certainly have to like him. Amari Cooper at 5'7" is very cheap. He's 6'9".
That's a crazy price for Amari Cooper, man.
6'9" on FanDuel. So that's one of those pricing discrepancies. I mean, 1,200 cheaper. That's a pretty big gap. For reference, Tyreek Hill is only 600 cheaper on DraftKings than he is FanDuel. You start seeing those $1,200 gaps, that's a pretty big gap. T. Higgins is the same way. He's 1,300 cheaper. So this is going to be that range, though, that's really important and really helps decide if you cash or not. So I would be building around those guys. I think Amari Cooper is going to be really chalk because of the name, the price,
and the matchup.
Yeah, the matchup's good too. So from there, it's about who you like. I think Kadarius Toney is going to be the one that comes in low owned, but I certainly like him. I mentioned him in the article. Let me pull the stats here. His target share over the last. Let me pull it up here. He has a 41% target share per route run over the last 4 weeks, and that leads the league. So, aka when he's on the field, Daniel Jones is looking at him a ton, and Sterling Shepard's already been ruled out. So he's playing, and he should be good to play this week. I mean, the other game he only played 6 snaps. The 6 snaps, he had 3 catches.
They're playing Mrs. Boys, right? Vegas.
Yeah, Mrs. Boys. Yeah, yeah, it's a good matchup too. So that's a guy. Again, I'm not trying to push you there. That's just another option. Comes in at 5.2. So deciding between all these guys, while it's going to be tough, it's loaded. So that's why it's a fun slate and a little bit, a little scary because the margin for error is probably going to be pretty slim with all these guys. And then a guy I know that you're pretty high in as well that I definitely need to mention is Marquise Brown, Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
He's been super good this year as well. So that's another one of these guys. You got guys all the way from 6K to about 4.8 that are really strong mid-range plays. I don't mind playing 3 or even 4 of them in your cash lineup today.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing Amari Cooper at 5'7", that opens up a lot that you can do. And then all these other guys here, like it's very possible to jam in a bunch of these guys without having to stress over a Tyreek Hill or, even a Steph Diggs. So interesting builds. You can go one of 3 ways. I bet you me, you, and Miz will probably all have 3 different builds, and they may all just be viable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very possible.
Yeah,
it just really depends on which way you lean and what you're valuing more than the other, obviously. But definitely take that into consideration, those mid-price range guys. Moving over to tight end, we got another value guy here. I'm not going to even attempt to say his name. I'll let you do the honors.
All right.
But he definitely fits the mold for one of the Devin specials here of punting tight ends.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit disappointed that he is chalky because these are the guys I love to nab when nobody else is on them. Like we tried with Sweeney last week, who actually got the snaps, got a couple catches, did his thing. I actually like him again this week, but not more than this guy. So Albert Okuwe-Bunam.
There you go.
Pretty
Hey,
sure I got
that's good. That
Uh,
works.
I've been practicing it. I've seen him play. It doesn't matter. It's one of those names we talked about it before the show. It's just in your head, like it's just one of those names. But yes, so he is only 2.6K. No
He's
fans out.
also like a freak athlete.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's 6'5", 250, and he runs a 4.4.
Yeah. So he's been dealing with injuries. When he plays, he's really good. No offense out. He gets a good matchup against Dallas, who's given up 278 pass yards per game, 14.9 DraftKings points per game position. And bottom line is he's 2.6K. We've talked about it all the time. DraftKings, for some reason, tight end, the minimum salary is lower than the other positions. So that's the spot to really take advantage of. You can punt at receiver and your max punt is 3K. You can punt at tight end and get all the way down to 2.6K or 2.5K. So expect him to be chalk. He opens up a ton. You could run him on FanDuel as well as a punt option at 4.5K. I would be okay with that, especially, FanDuel, you're going to want to probably play a Josh Allen. But again, FanDuel's same way today. You got a lot of these mid-range juicy plays. So that's my main guy. I think that's a plug and play on DraftKings. I would expect him to be super chalk because there's really no reason not to take advantage of that salary in this matchup. You're taking advantage of an injury situation, good matchup, good price. So if you're not playing him, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki's been really good. Dallas Goedert's a nice mid-range play. Travis Kelce's due to explode. These are all viable plays.
I mean, Travis Kelce's not washed?
Hell no. It's a Cleveland boy.
No, I know. He did just turn 32, so maybe he hit that age cliff that everybody that comes for everybody but Brady. But
yeah, unless your name's Brady.
Yeah, I'm not calling him washed, by the way. That was a joke.
Yes, that was
in case anybody takes me seriously. I'm all in on Alberto this week. I like Alberto.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to take advantage of it.
It's like, why not? Why would you not do that on a cash game, anyways? In GPP, maybe a little bit different if his ownership is coming in so high. You may want to try and get different. But in cash, give me the chalk punt tight end play. So that's fine with me. And then obviously, you want to give us the final spiel, the disclaimer on defenses.
I mean, I have to. Defense, I say it every week. I will continue to say it every week. Do not build around a defense. It should be the last position you click on. That's a position that you'll often find that even if you essentially punt it, your punt may outscore the top price defense because defense has so much variance. It's based on getting lucky. I mean, turnovers are a difficult thing to predict. So do not build around a defense. There are some punt options on the board. Green Bay gets, it sounds crazy to pick on the Chiefs, but Mahomes turned the ball over a ton.
I would say he throws a lot of picks. Yeah.
Yep. On the flip side, you get the Chiefs who are taking on Jordan Love.
Exactly.
So there are certainly options to punt here. And really quick, as we're doing this, I just updated the cheat sheet on my end. I want to make any notes here quick. Jalen Waddle has actually gone up with the news of Tua.
I was going to say the Tua news doesn't scare me off of Waddle. I don't really think it changes much.
The premier.
His ADOT dropped dramatically, though.
That's true. Miz is coming in behind. Also, Marquise Brown that we talked about saw a very big jump. Very big jump. He's kind of that top option in the 6K range. So again, but these guys are all still muddled together. So it's just like we talked about. You've got these guys all the way from 4.8 to about 6K that are going to be, a little bit of gut. If you're not sure, take a look at the cheat sheet, the stats, take a look at their logs, take your time, dig into it, and trust your gut.
Yep. Well said, Doug.
That's all I've got.
All right. Well, we'll bring you back in a little bit and review some of the picks there. But Miz, you're up, buddy. How's it going? We did have a little bit of a snag here in your GPP stacks. If you are following along on the website, you may have saw that Miz liked Denver, but that included Tua. Now that he's gone, we have axed that GPP stack. So I'll let you handle the rest here, but you take us away.
Yep. So I was on them, but definitely off them now because Jacoby Brissett really can't really throw downfield at all. So Waddle's fine, but his upside's capped now. However, but so I'll be going in with Teddy B and the Broncos again, man. Outside of last week, man, he was hitting 20 points almost every week, throwing more. Dallas expected to lead. Opponents really pass against.
Dallas is a 10 and a half point favorite at home. So if that plays, Denver's just going to be throwing the ball downfield, trying to catch up, I would imagine.
Yep. That's so you got cheap guys like Judy and Alberto. And it really just makes it for a really high upside, cheap stack. And you compare, maybe even Zeke or Mark Cooper, who are, actually underpriced. But if you wanted to get really different, you could use Lamb because he's a little bit overpriced. But collectively, even with Alberto's high ownership, it's still, when you put all these guys together, the collective ownership is low. And I like them to be passing the ball and for Teddy B to get back to that 20-point mark at a very cheap salary.
Yeah, all good takes there. And, Dallas's defense has been playing pretty well. And if you're worried about like Diggs on the outside, like he's a kind of a boomer bust cornerback. It's not like he's a lockdown cornerback, right? So you hear that name, you're like, oh man, leads the league in interceptions, but he also gives up a lot of big plays. So that's where you can get like some nice value and maybe, like you said, a Jerry Jeudy. I think he's like 5,000. Is that what he is?
Yep.
That's a really nice price point for him. Obviously, you have Courtland Sutton there that you have to kind of consider as well. But I think at the $5,000 mark, Jerry Jeudy looks really, really juicy in my opinion in terms of plays this week that could go low owned.
Yeah, but he's one week back from that ankle injury too. So
yeah, no, that's probably
week.
why he is low owned.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree.
All right. So actually, I'm not sure. There's a lot of stacks that you could actually go to do this week, but if you know me, I'm kind of like, I like to focus on offenses where I know where things are going, like we just saw above, and use players that are still good players.
Say the Vikings.
Right. I would play the Vikings this week, but it's not the best matchup. Like the Ravens aren't as bad as maybe they come to show lately. So that's why I'm off that. And the prices are just out of whack for the Vikings. However, using Hurts, going back to the well there, or 20-point monster.
Yep.
Typically. Dallas Goedert, Austin Eckler, and like either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. This game actually has a really close spread. It's been bouncing between like a 1.5 to down to a point, back and forth. And this is two offenses where we know where the ball is going. Dallas Goedert is seeing an increased role with Ertz being gone. He's not Alberto, and he's not Mike Gesicki, and he's not Travis Kelce. So you should have very low ownership on him. We know Hurts is going to be doing it all for the most part. Don't be shied away from all those rushing touchdowns last week by the running backs. That was just due to the Lions being awful. And then on the other side of the ball, you got Austin Eckler, who's one of the best players on the slate, obviously. Does it all, running and receiving. And then, you're more of a boom type play would be Mike Williams. But if you want to go a little bit safer and more consistent, I expect Darius Slay to be on Mike Williams anyways. But Keenan Allen would be your next bet. It's either it's Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams in this offense for the most part. So in a tight spread and a high game total, I love this stack here today.
Yeah. I know obviously you're stacking mostly Eagles, but just a question in general. Any love for the other side on Justin Herbert, like throwing him in the mix? he had kind of a down week last week. I know because I needed him desperately in a small pool GPP, and he kind of let me down with 15 points. But maybe that's why people maybe. Any love for him this week?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you definitely can do that. So the problem is, if you're going to use Eagles, I would just use probably just one, because you can't use.
I was
Hurts.
about to say it's tough to go Herbert, and then you're not able to use Hurts, and then it's like who are you picking on the Eagles at that point? Right,
and Hurts has all the upside too. I mean, they have just the same amount of upside, I'd say. So it's definitely more. It's going to be much more different if you do use Herbert. That's for sure. But he's obviously still a great play and a great quarterback.
Yeah. Some other names just shout out here at you, and you tell me whether you're looking their way for GPP. What about honestly, Patrick Mahomes? I mean, we mentioned him in the cash segment, but are people off this guy this week, or what do we think?
They definitely are. I mean, they definitely are. It'll probably be the lowest owned that he's ever been, probably in GPPs. Just because he's been so bad.
Yeah.
Not so bad, but so bad comparatively to what he normally is. Obviously Tyreek Hill is a great play, and Travis Kelce's been a bit more inconsistent than he typically has been.
Yeah.
Even though he's still doing well. But people will see the body language from the other night, and
he almost looked concussed in some sort of he dropping balls, just just didn't look in it. I don't know.
He was probably hungover, honestly. He does like to drink.
Yeah.
All right.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. So there's a lot of plays out here today that I think warrant some consideration. Like if DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green are out.
That was gonna be my next question.
Well, then I love Rondale Moore.
Yep. That's our guy, Rondale Moore, and they are playing the Niners, so I hope he doesn't really blow up. But if he's gonna blow up, I might as well have him in my lineup.
Right, exactly. So I mean, it's hard to imagine Cole McCoy trying to go downfield when he's typically hasn't been in his career, and Rondale Moore shines on the short to intermediate routes.
Definitely got to watch that Niners Cardinals game, because there's a lot of question marks there. Obviously, AJ Green is out on the COVID list. But you got DeAndre Hopkins, who probably will play, but is dealing with a hammy injury.
No, they're saying he's probably not. Albert Breer said he's probably out.
Okay. That's great news for me as a fan of the Niners. And then also Kyler Murray.
Excuse me.
What was that?
Same with Kyler.
He's probably out. Yeah. Well, the line shows that Kyler was probably out. I mean, I think the Niners are favorites by 3 or 4. So I anticipated Murray was going to be out anyways in general. But yeah, what does that do to guys like Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds? These are all names that maybe feel free to sprinkle in some of your GPP lineups, kind of go contrarian there. And then another name I wanted to throw at you that has gotten some buzz. He's not the starting quarterback, but he's going to get play, and that's Taysom Hill. Are you even looking his way at all, or probably not? Because I know some people, they try to get cute. You will see lineups with him in.
Yeah, I know, for sure. If he was starting, I would. But the fact that he's not, I mean, you could throw maybe a 1% of your total allocation in, but I wouldn't even do that, to be honest.
Yeah, he's in none of mine. I just was wondering if you
want to
get super cute there and try it.
I'll pass.
And then what's the deal with what are we doing with Alvin Kamara? He's still obviously super talented. He's just also super highly priced. Any love for him this week at all? Where's that offense go?
Right. I mean, they got to use him, right? It's just a matter of what you can put else around him. If you can get a cheap stack and fit him in, then that would be the way to do it.
And what are you even stacking though? Are you stacking Trevor Siemian and Alvin Kamara? Probably not.
No. But he would be he'd be perfect for a one-off. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not stacking him. Maybe he has a run back option against the grain with who they play in Atlanta. But even they're a shit show too, because you got Cordell Patterson, who is nobody ever loves playing Cordell Patterson, and then he just makes you pay for it. And then obviously with the Calvin Ridley news, there really is no studs there outside of Kyle Pitts. I don't know. That's just a tough game if you're going to target anything from it. Just want to throw it out there, get your thoughts. See if you had any love for any of those guys, but got my answer. All right, let's bring Dev back in. Or before we bounce over to top plays review, anything else that we may have missed that you want to talk about? Michael?
I'm sorry, say that again. It cut out.
Anything else? Did we miss anything before we bring Dev back here?
No, we're good, man.
All right, cool. All right, well, welcome back, Dev. Let's just review some of the top plays here. Looks like on the cash side of things, if we're looking at quarterbacks, we had Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen as your pay up options. If you really want to get ballsy, you can look at Jordan Love. If you want to look for mid-tier, we got Jalen Hurts, right?
Yes, sir.
On the running back front, was kind of skewed towards like a real small core group of guys, namely Austin Eckler. We liked Ezekiel Elliott got brought up, Myles Gaskin. Those were pretty much the three favorites there, right? Anybody else that I missed?
Gaskin over on FanDuel, Zeke and Eckler on DraftKings are probably going to be chalk building blocks.
Yep. And to recap the wide receiver strategy, there's a bunch of names that we threw out, but the only commonality there was that they were all in the 5 to 6K range. Obviously, there's your pay up options. Tyreek Hill, we're never going to sway you off of him, or Stephon Diggs, stuff like that. But we're saying that you don't really have to go that way this week. A ton of great options in Amari Cooper at 5.7, Jarvis Landry at 5,000. Marquise Brown was a name that got thrown out there. A bunch of guys. Kadarius Toney was our value play. Guys that can definitely get the job done for a lower amount of money. So that's where we were at on the wide receiver front.
I should add in the Arizona guys you talked about, Rondale Moore and Kirk in that same price range. Rondale Moore actually comes in at 4.2, so that's probably the premier punt option at the receiver position. So again,
for sure,
that range is just loaded.
Yep. And then tight end, Albert O, and we'll just leave it at that. Albert O, coming in at 2.6. We loved him as a punt option. Some higher price plays, that mid-tier Dallas Goedert was a name. And then you have Darren Waller as your top play there. And then as always, defense, we didn't overly push any one defense. We just said, see what you can do and jam in whoever fits the build, basically.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Miz, on the GPP side. We liked our Philadelphia Eagles stack, running Hurts, Goddard, and then coming back with Austin Eckler and maybe Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, depending which way you want to go. We pivoted off of our Miami Dolphins stack, which we initially liked because of the Tua news. He is out if you were watching this and you're not aware. So we moved over to the Denver offense with Teddy B going up against Dallas. Run him with one of his receivers, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Albert O, and then also run it back with either a Zeke or maybe possibly a CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper, who's favorably priced. Sound about right?
That is right, sir.
All right, cool.
I do like Dalvin Cook more today, now that Brandon Williams is out for the Ravens.
The Ravens also don't have a great rush defense. We saw what Jonathan Taylor did to them 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think Dalvin Cook he's had like a weird season where he is not like the Dalvin Cook that we're used to talking about every week, but he certainly could break off a couple of big runs and make it worth your while here in a GPP. I would love, I know you're smirking there because it's against your boys, but I'm not too against running Lamar and running it back with Dalvin Cook and then just filtering in everybody else afterwards, just to try it. Throw a little Hail Mary up there. All right. Let's move over into PrizePicks. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, guys, it's a really cool, unique website where you can actually place bets, not only on prop bets for players, but also their fantasy scores as well. If you head over there now and sign up with code YFC, you'll get a discount. Guys, anything on the PrizePicks side of things, anything you were eyeing coming into the beginning of this stream?
Well, I actually like Lamar over 1.5 passing touchdowns now that Harrison Smith is out.
That sounds nice. 1.5 that you said?
Yeah.
I know we featured Josh Jacobs over half a touchdown on our video. Miles Gaskin's at half a touchdown as well. That's a nice number.
I like that one. And if you're watching this, we do this live because PrizePicks changes their numbers so up to date. So if you see Miz and Dev reading the website here, it is because it doesn't make sense to lock something in at 10 o'clock because the way PrizePicks works is it moves really quick. So a little bit of advice, if you are playing PrizePicks and you see something you like, lock it in immediately because it's very likely that it will change the closer we get to kickoff.
Like Jamar Chase over half a touchdown. He's got a touchdown in every week but 2 so far this season.
Going against the Browns.
Yep.
We'll talk about that in a second when we get to the Vegas picks.
You know what's coming.
And then I like Aaron Jones to have a touchdown also.
Yeah, he's just is he rushing touchdowns? Yeah, over half rush touchdown. Yep, I agreed with that one.
Yeah, give me Miles Gaskin and parlay it with Aaron Jones touchdowns. I'm all in on that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I say it every week. I really like the touchdown props. The yardage is kind of shockingly accurate most weeks. Their PrizePicks projection system's very good. I just feel like the touchdowns is a little bit easier to hit in most cases.
Anything else before we bounce over to Vegas?
Nope.
No, Dev?
Nope.
All right, cool. All right, well, speaking of Vegas, let's bounce over to some of the lines here. So if you are an avid fan of the show, you will notice that we were not able to record our week 9 show before the show this week, which usually drops on Fridays. Don't worry. I see everybody freaking out. We'll be back next week and we'll cover everything that we spoke about today and kind of break down the week as it is. But we do need to keep our picks because we are keeping tallies of all this stuff. So last week, Miz, you had the Bucks -5.5 against New Orleans that lost. You had the Broncos -3 against Washington that won. And then you had the Vikings +1.5 against Dallas, and that obviously lost. So you went 1-2. That brings your record to 9-14 and 1. So we're gonna need you to go on a little bit of a hot streak here. Dev, you had Buffalo -13.5 against Miami. That won with ease. Oh, not with ease, actually. I think they only won by like 15. So
a little scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say fourth quarter it was actually a 1-score game, and then they pulled away. You had Cleveland -3.5 against Pittsburgh. Dude, you got to take the John Moffa route and just stop taking your favorite team.
Oh, no.
I didn't take San Francisco, and they won. So I feel like a lot of your losses are Cleveland here with the spreads.
I mean, they should have covered that. Jarvis Landry dropped a wide open first down.
I know. And then you had Dallas -1.5 against Minnesota, and that one, big time Cooper Rush there, coming through on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I had Cincinnati -10.5 against the Jets that obviously lost. They lost outright. I had Seattle -3.5 against the Jags that won pretty easily. And then I had Tennessee +1.5 against Indy. Dev, I didn't record your record here or say it, but you're 12-11-1. And I am 11-11-1.
Getting over that 50% mark.
Yes, exactly. So Miz, you got some work to do. Me and Dev hover around that 500 mark. Actually, you know what? I think I might be 11-12-1 because my numbers don't add up. I'm missing a game. So yeah, I'm 11-12-1, but still right at that 500 mark. So yeah. Okay, let's go into it. Dev, you have the honors. You get to pick first since you had the better record of the two of us. Miz, you're going last. Sorry, but don't worry. We'll save whoever the Raiders are playing against and the Texans for you. But yeah, Dev, what do you like this week?
And both those guys are on the slate as well. So
we'll see.
So even though I shouldn't do it, Cleveland Browns plus 1.5. It feels weird to say, but I have been saying for 2 years now, the Browns are better without Odell Beckham Jr. He's not the player he once was, and even if he is, he's not that in Cleveland. Baker feels the need to give him the ball, and it puts the offense out of whack. The numbers literally show that. Baker's simply better without Odell. Get rid of Odell. I think Baker tries to prove a point today. They reestablished the run game, and I'm getting them at plus 1.5. So Bengals are good. On the road's tough, but I got to keep going with my Browns every week. So I can't stop Moffa. It's gonna turn into Miz for me, but I'm gonna keep riding it here.
Glutton for punishment, as they say.
I am. So give me the Browns, and then I'm actually gonna stay with same division. I'm gonna go the Monday night game. Steelers -6.5. I feel bad for my boy Justin Fields. He is going to get murdered in that game. They will not be able to protect him.
You don't feel bad for Matt Nagy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him, but honestly, I worry about Fields' safety in that game. He's going to get just destroyed. So give me the Steelers -6.5. And then from there, we got some good lines. So that last one I'm struggling to pick here.
I've got the winners, bro.
I'm going to go just for
You
Miz.
do, as they say, Miz.
I'm going to go the Raiders -3 just for Miz, because it seems like every time I go with the Raiders, they win.
Raiders -3.
Raiders -3.
All right, cool. Let's see here. And they're playing the Giants, right, on the road?
Yeah.
All right. I will. Oh shit! Hold on. I just closed my lines. Miz, you know what? Why don't you go? I'll let you go. I got to pull the website back up. I just closed it out by accident.
All right, guys. Well, I have the Houston Texans at +4.
What?
Ty God is back. Ty God. All hail Ty God.
Oh, you know what?
Back. He's going to make this team much more competitive.
That was my third pick because Tyrod Taylor makes a big difference. I was going to do that and I forgot. But that's all yours.
Actually, might even money line that joint. Anyway, the next one would be the Chargers -1. I think it's a pick 'em at some places. Give me all the Chargers. And then number 3, the Rams on not today's slate, obviously, but the Rams at -7.
They're the Sunday night game, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Going with that Texans back to the well, huh? All right. So I'll get one right out of the way. I also like the Chargers -1 against Philly. Last time I was all in on the Chargers when they went across the country and played an East Coast team. That was the Ravens, and they got dominated. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. So I like the Chargers there. I also like the Buffalo Bills -14.5. That's a large line, but you know what? They're blowing teams out, and the Jaguars are so bad. I'm just I have more faith in that line than some of the closer lines that are on the board this week. So I'll take Buffalo -14.5. That should be a route. And then also I like, let's see here. See, FanDuel has the Cowboys at -9.5, which I like. But the Vegas odds that are on the board here have Dallas at -10.5, which I don't like. So because we use FanDuel, at least when we make these picks, I'm going to go Dallas -9.5 at home against the Denver Broncos. I think they can cover that 10-point number. So give me Dallas -9.5 against Denver. So to recap, Dev, you got Cleveland +1.5 against Cincinnati, Pittsburgh -6.5 against Chicago, and then Vegas -3 against the Giants. Miz, you got Houston +4 against Miami. I will say I think that's like your 4th time this year taking Houston, maybe 5th, definitely 4th though. We may have to do a bet where if you end up with the worst record, you got to buy like a shitty Houston Texans jersey and wear it on one of the streams.
David Johnson, Houston Texans jersey.
Yeah. Something that's just like a pure waste of money.
Right.
You also
my
have
pick.
the Chargers -1 against Philly. And then you also have the Rams -7 against Tennessee. I have the Chargers as well, -1 against Philly. Buffalo -14.5 against Jacksonville, and then Dallas -9.5 against Denver. Those are our Vegas picks. That wraps us up here right before the 12 o'clock hour. Anything to leave any comments with for everybody watching?
Nope. This is the week to trust your gut.
Looks like we have a couple questions actually in the chat if you want to take a look there.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So one says, is Miles Gaskins a good GPP tournament play on DraftKings? It's really going to he's and for those of you who are watching, and if you're not familiar what chalk is, it just means he's a popular play, which is kind of what you want to stay away from when you're making your GPP builds, unless it's some sort of stack. So unless you're running other Dolphins there, or you're just focused on that game with the Texans, maybe not. It really depends on what the percentage of ownership is. What do we currently have Gaskins coming in at, Dev? Do you have the cheat sheet up right now?
Yeah, I just updated about 24% on FanDuel and about 15% on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of good GPP tournament play, I would say maybe I'm not looking there. I mean, he might be in a couple of my builds. It really depends on how many you're playing and whatnot. But overall sentiment would be to maybe look at him towards a cash build, not a GPP. Somebody asked what my Super Bowl picks were. I actually picked the Titans and the Packers when we did our week 1 show. So I'm going to have to stick with that, even though I disagree at the moment. But hey, it's still a possibility, dude. If Tennessee wins tonight, let's just say if Tennessee wins tonight and shocks the world and beats the Rams, who are 7-point favorites, that Tennessee pick actually looks pretty good. Coming off of a lot of big wins against division rivals in the Colts, the Chiefs, who may not be as good, but now the Rams. So we'll see. I'm still alive in that. I'm hanging on by a thread. And then Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Any thoughts there? I like Justin Jefferson a lot this week in GPPs because I think he's just going to go under owned. But I think the safer play is Jamar Chase. So
I would lean Justin Jefferson for GPPs, and Chase is a bit safer of a cash play.
Yep. Let's see. Landry, Sutton, Debo, or Hardman. Oh, I think this is a season-long comment. Yeah, you got to play Debo. I mean, even with the injury, he also had that injury lagging last week, and he blew up too. So
he's been receiver 2 or 3 in the NFL. I mean, you can't not.
Yeah, and behind like Cooper Kupp, who's like breaking records. So yeah, Debo's been a beast. I would definitely lean Debo there.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. That pretty much takes care of the chat. That takes care of our stream. Perfect timing. 12 o'clock. You got a full hour to jam in all of the information we spoke about. Guys, any final comments before we sign off here?
Cheat is updated. Just updated it, and will be updated probably 2 more times before lock. So be sure to check on that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, as always, I'm the host. These guys are the experts. Miz, were you about to say something? And hopefully it wasn't Texans related. All right, good. All right. We'll see you guys on the Friday show, the show before the show. Until then, good luck, everybody. If you need us, hit us up in the Discord channel. Happy to answer questions as the day goes on, per usual. So peace out. Good luck. We will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.